All right. Anyway, welcome to my live stream today. I have changed up things quite a bit. I used to do Teaching Tip Tuesday, but in the climate that we're in, I think it's more appropriate to go live on Sunday so you can get some tips for your lesson. If you have any questions, especially for those that are in my membership, I've switched some things up. I was posting on Wednesday, but I was like, let me try to get these things out on Sunday, which, earlier Sunday as people are trying to get ready for that Monday morning rush. Uh, that will be more appropriate. So, if you are new here in the comment section, tell us where you're watching from, even if you're watching on the replay, and say hello. My name is Michelle, aka the Ignited Teacher, and what I do on my channel is I provide math teachers, math interventionists with teaching tips to help them close gaps and to boost academic achievement at least by one grade level at minimum. You can't, that's what we shoot for. Sometimes it's greater than that, depending on where the student is, but 1 year is the standard for education. So if anybody tells you anything other than that, it's unrealistic. One school year. So let me go ahead and I'm gonna use my Stream Deck. I never use it, so hopefully I can use it and not mess up. So what I have started to meet the moment where we are in this climate of scripted curriculum, teachers lacking autonomies, budget cuts, the federal government attacking public education. I host free monthly workshops. Let me say that free monthly workshops on my Crowdcast channel. So if you're on my email list or if you follow me, you probably have seen these, especially in the stories. I rarely post about them, but I do run them through my stories for the people who are following me on Facebook or Instagram. And this month, October's focus is my 4-step process for math success, which is the math intervention cycle, which I'm going to talk about some today, real briefly. And if you need or want to connect more and want to learn more about the math intervention cycle, go ahead, sign up for my free workshop. It is on October the 18th at 11 a.m. That's Central Standard Time. My dog needs to move out of the way because I have a new puppy. Lord have mercy. Um, That's Central Standard Time for 1 hour. Even if you cannot, and this is important, even if you cannot show up live, register anyway. There's a replay that populates afterwards. I would rather you show up live, but if you cannot, register anyway and watch the replay as you're at your leisure. But here's the thing I want you to know. Every 3 months, yes, every 3 months, I archive those um workshops. So don't wait forever because it might not be there when you want to watch it, but watch it as soon as possible. And I do that because I know teachers, we have lives and life, as the kids says, be lifing. So go ahead and register for that. Moving on, today we are talking about math intervention in your classroom. I think this is a very important topic because when I was trained on response to intervention, and bless your heart, a lot of you teachers that are new to the profession, alternative certification, I'm sorry, they are not training you all on intervention. When I started teaching, we received a lot of training on math intervention, and you know, that's what I'm trying to put out here to remind people that teaching math is not only about numbers and tests and standardized tests. It's not just about that. We have to close gaps. And in the day and age of our declining literacy, not just for our students, but for Americans alike, we have to do more than what we did, especially when I first started teaching. We just have to do more, and our lessons have to involve more. So, what is math intervention? Let me scoot over. Math intervention is the response to your students' data. That's what it is. It's the response to your data. So when you get a piece of data back, it doesn't have to be numbers, it can be your observations. And what that can look like in your classroom is you're walking around your classroom monitoring, and you need to be following the lesson cycle. I don't know what this thing is about not following the lesson cycle. That is your introduction, your guided practice, and independent practice. That's your lesson cycle. So you're not going to walk around during your introduction to your lesson because you're introducing a skill. But during the guided practice, I have in my Math Intervention Academy, I give this to my the teachers that are in the academy, a mastery check. That's your formative assessment. There you should take notes. Well, first of all, when you're playing your lessons, you should be aware of those common misconceptions that students have. So for example, I know a lot of people say this is for elementary. It's not. If you're in middle school and you're teaching seventh grade math, I don't know what's up with the curriculum. I don't like it, but hey, seventh grade math in the state of Texas has a lot of proportional reasoning, multiplying decimals, those types of things. But there's no calculators in seventh grade math. So students have to be proficient in computation. So if you notice that your students, will say 40% of the students, because that's a lot. I know a lot of people say, well, it's not half. It's close enough to half. So say for instance, you got 30 kids in there and 10 of them are, for whatever reason, making computational errors. That's something you need to note and write down somewhere on a mastery check, somewhere your anecdotal evidence. Because what this is an issue that you are observing. Your observation are valid. I know the government tries to make us feel like what we're doing doesn't matter. That's the furthest from the truth. What you observe in your classroom is just as good as this data that's on this screen. It doesn't always have to be numbers. Why do you think when there are assessments done, they send someone down to observe the person in the medical field? Observations are important. So, math intervention is response to your anecdotal observations in your classrooms or that quantitative data, which are the numbers. And it doesn't always have to be in test format. It can be an exit ticket. It can be they're working in groups or with a cooperative learning task, any of those things. But you first have to understand what the common misconceptions are. And I teach that and provide that in my Gap Closers membership. The next thing is, what does this look like in the classroom? And how does it begin? Well, it begins with these 4 simple steps. It's assess, which is the formative assessment. It can be a summative. Well, we don't want to do summative. You can do summative, but you really shouldn't wait till summative. Summative means that everything you have taught and then you decide to intervene. No, it should be formative assessment. It can be your anecdotal evidence. It can be anything. It could be your universal screening. It could be your progress monitoring data. Any of those things where you can intervene before it ends. So you have to intervene before it ends. And it's these 4 steps: assess, diagnose, reteach, reassess. That is it. Get your data, anecdotal or numbers. Then you diagnose. You find out what the real problem is, because what I'm telling you is we expect students not to know what they're doing at grade level because it's new content. But the problem is it's not the at grade level content that's the problem. It's always the skills before the at grade level content. And that's what my gap closers and math intervention is about. I know a lot of people say, well, do you have anything for this grade level? Intervention is not about grade level content. It's about meeting the students where they are. So this is where it begins, these 4 steps. Once you get that data, you should be addressing it with this cycle. Diagnose it, come up with a plan, reteach it, use a strategy, reassess, progress monitor it. Did the strategy work? Are the kids better than what they were before you implemented the strategy? Not all strategies work. That's why you need to choose the strategies that you're using on the front end. I don't care what your little scripted curriculum says. It is not written for all students. Your scripted curriculum, such as Eureka, is written for students that are on grade level. That is it. It's not even written for students that are above grade level. That's coming from a person who has been trained in Eureka Math. Now, in your classroom, it can also look like small group instruction. Does all intervention mean small group? Absolutely not. It's not always small group because sometimes it doesn't warrant small group. You may have to reteach the lesson to the whole entire class, because especially if you're working in a school where you have it's an underserved population of students. They may have 80% of the kids that may need the skill. That is a thing. So I'm telling you, intervention is not, there's no cookie cutter idea, plan for it. It's based on the data. The data will lead you. If you have 70% of your students, or even 50, you need to teach a whole group lesson. It can also look like a mini lesson. You can flip that lesson and put the kids on a lesson that they can do while you're in small group for a certain number of children. It can all Math intervention is what you make it. It's no one size fits all, because the data is not going to say, well, all the kids need this. They're not robots. They come with different experiences, varying levels, and you need to use your computers as a support for your intervention, not as a crutch. It has to be really, really tailored to what you needed to do. But if you don't have data and you're just teaching and, oh, everything's great until you get your test or the district gives an assessment, you haven't even addressed it on your own. So you have to be real careful about how you're using your technology. It should not be supplanting or teaching the kids. It should supplement that data that you're using, that you're seeing in your classroom, to help you close gaps. Because I know a lot of you all in the day and age of budget cuts, you don't have the help that you need. Now, the last step that is most important is your progress monitoring. And you're probably saying, well, why is that the most important? Why isn't reteaching? It's important, but the most important is, did it work? Did the strategy that you use work? So this we used to use Renaissance 360 in my school, and I loved that program because it was tailored to their teachers. I don't like MAP. I don't like norm reference tests because what we use in our schools, and I don't care where you are, we use criterion reference test, and it does not align. And MAP testing gives it's your kids are what's the word I'm looking for? Compared to the students that are taking the test, not to the criterion that is needed for that grade level. So if you're teaching 8th grade math, what do you care that the students are doing, how the students are doing up against other kids that are taking the test? You care how well and if they're mastering those standards for 8th grade and for Algebra 1 or anyone. We don't care about how our students are doing up against another demographic of students unless it's the students next door or in your cohort in your district. That's what we care about. And really, to be honest with you, we're trying to get the kids to mastery, and we care what standards or student expectations they are mastering. That's what we care about. That's why I don't like map testing. Map testing is for those higher ups. As one of my coworkers used to say, she said, those feet that come to the building, that's what they care about because they're clout chasing. Teachers, we want to know was our teaching effective? Were the strategies that I used effective? And map testing doesn't do that. Maybe it does it for K2, but for 3-5 and where we're held to these standardized tests that are criterion reference tests based on the standards of the course, we're not concerned about the rest of that stuff. But back to what I was saying, getting off my soapbox, I did you is what you did working? And you can only do that if you progress monitor. Now, this is what people expect. You cannot focus on everything for intervention. You can't. You cannot focus on everything. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. You cannot focus on everything in intervention. You just can't. So, what you do is those themes for your grade level and your grade band, that's what you focus on because number and operation, that's K through 5. That's it. I'm gonna be honest with you. If you're not focusing on number and operation and then fractions and decimals, your kids are not gonna do well. That should be honestly, that should be your only intervention along with beating that horse with problem solving. K through 5 is number and operation. If you hit those plus fractions and decimals, your kids will they will move. Your data will move. But some of you all are focusing on measurement. Measurement has fractions in it, ma'am, sir. Measurement has decimals in it, ma'am, sir. That's number and operation. That's just number and operation showing up in the measurement strand. That's it. Focus on number and operation. Hi, Natalie, from that NYC. Yes. So if you are in middle school and you're not teaching 8th grade, because 8th grade teachers, those calculators are the death of children. They really are. I taught 8th grade. I hated those calculators because the kids didn't understand what they were putting in it. So you have to monitor what you're doing. 6th through 8th, expression and equations, proportionality, that is your struggle. But guess what? Kids can't add, multiply, and divide. That's still number in operation. It is. 7th grade, surface area. Yeah. It still goes back to elementary, area and perimeter. Total surface area. My 8th graders was still messed up with air. They couldn't even tell the difference between area and perimeter. It's the same stuff. But you have to monitor your students and any strategies that you are actually using. So, I hope that this was helpful. And what I'm going to do, if you want to learn more about this, there's 2 ways. I'm going to click this and I know this is going to come on. If your students are still falling behind, even after all of the extra practice, let me turn this off. It's not your fault. Most teachers have never been taught this one. If your students are still, there we go. So this is a playlist that I am creating for math intervention. If you're interested, you can go on my YouTube channel because I'm live streaming in Facebook. You can go on my YouTube channel and click on playlist. It's the only playlist. It's going to be a 5 video series. The first one is why struggling math students stay behind. And then there's the second one is the fastest fix for students falling behind in math. And the third one, I just released that this week. It is the 4-step fix that closes math gaps fast. And you can check out that playlist on my YouTube channel. So I hope this didn't blow your mind. For those of you all who are watching it live or on the replay, I hope to see you all in my monthly workshop. I'm going to put that not in the chat, I'm going to put it in the comment section of this live stream. And thank you all for sharing 30 minutes out of your day with me, whether you're watching on the replay. And I hope to see you all in October's monthly workshop. And I'll see you all next time in my next live stream. Bye-bye.